One thing I'm going to be watching out for is the Stitches Diva combo in particular from Freedom. They're really good at executing the bomb into Gorge.
I want to see that too. This is one of the things that I definitely expect them to play at some point, so I would love for them to just show that right now.
All right, let's get into it. This is the final series of the day, as we have Team Freedom going up against Nomia. The winner advances on to the next round in the lower bracket, and the loser will be going home.
I like the Oriole ban. It speaks a lot to Team Freedom's versatility throughout this tournament so far, their ability to adapt. I mean, in the first set, they identified, look, we struggled playing against this hero. At least until tomorrow, let's just remove it and play our own game.
Also, the Oriole combos that we've seen so far with Lunara, they have been so impactful, and Oriole just, as a result, has risen. But Nomia, well, we won a team fight, so I think we're going to get that. Tacita picked with an Illidan on the first rotation right away, so they definitely want to go deep with this. Yeah,
I'm really curious to see how Freedom responds here. The Uther into Illidan matchup in particular is quite good, but Freedom at the same time loves the Tassadar Illidan style of composition. I mean, against Expert, they first picked Tassadar in two scenarios where I didn't necessarily anticipate it. So it'll be interesting to see, now that they don't have that playstyle within the draft, how they'll respond.
Does Team Freedom move into a Dahaka here, even though there's a possibility for Illidan trying to match against them in lane? And Illidan, if unchecked and just not get hit by drag, can actually push them out of lane?
I think when it comes to the early game rotations on Sky Temple, the first two Temple spawns are really important, and the Illidan versus Dahaka matchup actually isn't as Illidan favored, I'd say, on this map.
Sure.
But we get to see the Stitches Uther combo. I feel like this is Freedom's bread and butter. When we've seen them at their most comfortable, they have this combination of heroes.
Makes sense. Stitches Hook into an Uther Stun, and now we move straight into the bans here. Nomia thinking about what they would want to get rid of. There is possibilities for moving into carries here. Is there anyone that they don't want to deal with right away?
The one thing that I would ban out if I was Team Freedom, first of all, was really thinking, okay, what's going to be playing behind the Illidan? Traditionally, we have seen Lunara as a really strong staple in that sense. Ideally, with the Oriole that you don't get, but still, even with Tacita and any second support, it's incredibly powerful since Illidan opens up that much space. Nomia, on the other hand, they have to think about what can really threaten Illidan. They already have a fair amount against them. I don't really think that you go for a Brightwing here if you already have Uther on your arsenal and we're talking
What about the Stukov?
Stukov is actually interesting. I haven't really seen any games where Stukov against Illidan really had that impact, so...
Oh, no, I mean for Nomia themselves. Because we saw Team Freedom earlier today run a similar composition where they had Tass, Illidan, Stukov, and if it weren't for Expert's phenomenal map play, I think theoretically, the team fight strength is there with Stukov.
I've definitely seen Tacita and Stukov comps, and I think they're really, really powerful if executed well. So, exactly. So you can definitely run that with the Illidan. So on their end, sorry that I misunderstood, but on their end, it makes way more sense.
The Anubrock ban, I think, makes a lot of sense too. I don't know if Freedom will go Gorge or Bile. It's kind of like hit or miss for me. I can't really anticipate it, but Anubrock has an interesting interaction with Gorge. If you are to cocoon the Stitches after he gorges a target, the Stitches instantly spits out the target. So it's like a soft counter in some ways, and it's very synergistic with Illidan, so it doesn't surprise me they banned that out.
I personally would actually like Purity Bile a lot more than Gorge in this setup, just simply because you don't have any big isolation tools as of yet. I don't see them picking up a Brightwing for an Emerald Wind after Gorge. I don't believe either that they will head into a Falster to get that isolation. And with Sky Temple being the map that it is, you very early lose control of those gates, so you can't abuse that to an extent that you get a lot of hooks after 10 to isolate the target there. But yeah, for now, supports, they head into the Rhaegar over a potential Stukov play. Muradin can jump into the backline, of course, as well. So just trying to have someone in there that can engage with Illidan together.
And what I like about this is it leaves a slot open for them to respond to whatever Team Freedom picks up for their ranged damage here. So they have good engage already, they have die potential set up, they have the synergy between, of course, Rhaegar and Illidan that we've known for years now. So now it's all about Team Freedom. What do they want to move into?
I was going to say, I feel like 2015 called, and they want their comeback, because this is looking very, very old.
Diva is still an option here. We were talking a little bit in the draft of the Stitches D.Va composition, but I don't really think they'll go into it. They already have the Dahaka, and I feel like if they were to run D.Va, it would kind of fill the slot that they've already chosen the Dahaka to be into. And with the Li Ming banned, I'm not sure what damage they'll go into, but I mean, you can always get Greymane. Very good synergy with Uther as well as Stitches.
Yeah.
The Curse Bullet off the CC is good.
Ooh.
But I like this way more, let's be honest.
Okay, Glor, the floor is yours.
Whoa,
Okay.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wait a minute, the flow is yours. You've watched ADRD. Please
Okay.
tell me a little bit about the Probius first.
Okay, ADRD hasn't played it in some time, but at the time when Probius came out, we had 2 teams that actually played the hero on this map. First of all, we had Synergy playing it back then, and also, of course, Team Expert. And at this point, it just simply has to be a lot about the wave clear that you have. Now, you have to be careful of the Haka. One of the problems that Probius had was that with the dive meta being so strong and us seeing Illidan coming into play, us seeing Genji coming into it, nobody really could run something like Probius because he's just so vulnerable against all these dive heroes. So with this setup, you have to be careful of the Haka, I think. But outside of that, Probius can actually have a pretty big impact here. But I would be lying if I wouldn't be saying that I'm still extremely surprised.
Yeah, that's actually really crazy here. First off, you have a pretty dive composition with Tassadar, Illidan, Rhaegar, Murd, and that can be punished by Cassia with their blinds, control the fight relatively well, you drop down the chain ball. Probius, as the range as wave clear?
I think what they're going to be doing is instead of using Illidan as that traditional pseudo-global, they're going to be using him. I actually would anticipate Metamorphosis this game, to be completely honest with you guys. And one thing that I've noticed personally throughout the games that I've played against Probius, because I end up playing Medivh a lot, I actually think it's a really good matchup for Medivh. Being able to identify the Probius's rotation with your bird form vision, drop a portal, and your team can just instantly collapse. It's like Probius's weakness is dive, and Medivh enables your entire team to dive on a specific hero.
You talk about Metamorphosis, and what we've seen on the side of Freedom is now a Cassia, which oftentimes against Illidan, the hope is that you lock Illidan down and then you get fenned in, and with Cassia's damage, you burst him down. In that setup that they're now running, you can always dodge a lot of that with Metamorphosis and then just like trying to engage here. So I would like the adjustment if you keep Probius on the off lane.
Well, I'm getting word that we are ready to go over to the commentary team here for this one. So what a composition that we come out here with as Probius does enter the fray. Surprise is one way to look at it. For me, skepticism is one way as well as we now get into this. Let's see if it can prove us wrong here as Nomia goes up against Team Freedom.
Another series, another chance for Nomia to show what they can do on the global stage. And if it all goes terribly wrong, you can't spell ANZ without NA.
You're not wrong. It's going to be exciting here to be able to watch Nomia and Team Freedom go head-to-head. The draft, though, very, very interesting with that Probius coming out.
I mean, the Probius, for me, I haven't actually seen these guys play it in such a long time. And bless his heart, Glyrong trying to break it down with all the analysis. I'm just really curious to see how they try and play this objectively. Illidan pushing the top lane, always with that split potential. But as you mentioned, Medivh keeping tabs on what that Probius is.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult when from a team fighting dynamic there for Probius to be able to thrive. But traditionally, you know, this Probius pick on a map like Sky, whenever you see a high focus onto wave clear, usually in the specialist role, it's heavy concern with just the macro focus around Shrine phases #1 and 2. And if Nomia can really kind of abuse their wave clear over that, I think they've got a solid shot here against North America.
Well, let's jump into this one. The final series of today. Get hype. It's been a long one, but we are still rocking and running. Team Freedom on the left in blue. It's Collusion on Uther, Cure on Dahaka, Zagrog on Stitches, Nesmez on the Cassia, and finally, Dansky on Medivh.
And here in the red are your Australia and New Zealand representatives. It, in fact, is going to be Nomia. We got Robodoba on the Muradin. John is going to be playing Tassadar. Fat94 there on to the Illidan. Vanilla on Rhaegar. And Arcaner is going to be our Probius here today.
I'm really curious, Dred, how this one pans out, because we talk about two teams with polar opposite playstyles. Team Freedom love that macro play. They want to rock it all day long, but Nomia, bringing a team fight, they want the big probe to basically take everyone's heart.
Yeah, and look at the wave clear already there. Arcaner kind of flexing that out, and that is exactly the element that I expect them to try to abuse there during those first and secondary Shrine phases. But up until that point, there's really not much for Probius to be able to make happen other than having a lopsided laning mismatch. They're traditionally, you know, he's not going to be the one looking for a gank anytime soon, you know?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, he's going to pop that Workers Rush and say, I'm right out of here, right back on that plane on that 30-hour flight home.
All the way back to ANC. Oh, man. So far, though, Freedom has not looked too aggressive. They seem to be very comfortable with kind of testing the waters of what Nomia is trying to make happen into the laning phase, and it understandably so, again, due to the lack of necessarily raw aggression that Nomia has to provide, but Freedom is waiting for those long team fights, that later stage. They have 5 melees on their team.
100%. I mean, this is where they're going to look to try and get things happening. Chaos before the first temple phase, looking for those pot shots, bringing the pain. There goes the protection. The force of will doing work. The hook is good. Vanilla is in. Woof is the word. And first blood comes across.
Great portal there from Dansky, not only allowing the escape, but then giving the old bait and switch, swapping back in, confirming another kill here. And conveniently, during the Shrine phase already up there, Nomia, though, did steal a bit of those shots down through mid. Now Freedom is going to claim what they call their own after finding that convenient pickup there. It's going to be, it's really Nomia's responsibility to find a way to, with a skirmish composition that they have here, and now losing that fight and losing the first couple of shots, how they can balance out these first kills, because you never want to fall behind too heavily. Robodoba brought back in there with a Stitches hook, but he's got that toss.
Absolutely, yeah, they're still looking to punch on here. Old mate Probius still in the bot lane, collecting that work check, wants the money, wants the split push, and wants to keep Cured distracted, but the fight still heavily surrounding this middle temple. No pressure, no shots fired in this top temple. They're looking for the punch on. Nazmas has got the force of will, going to give him a little bit of breathing room. Vanilla runs away in that wall form. People are so dangerously low. Fat 94 is too low. He does pop. Double kill comes across, and Murden falls.
Once again, Dansky's portal, the thing that is separating just by fractions of HP bars Team Freedom's lives and that of Nomia's. 3 kills now Freedom can claim for themselves, and a lot of shots still remaining there on the top half of the map. But thankfully, because of Arcaner there on the Probius and the pressure he's been able to apply to the bottom lane against Cure, at least the experience is not too heavily in either side's favor.
100%, and I think this is kind of an indication of where their strategy lies, right? They're going to put a lot of investment into the second phase of the temples, looking to try and take down a well, looking to try and execute the ability to out-sustain, but the fight comes across again. The hook to start things off with. Fat 94 has other ideas, forced to disengage, as such as Robodoba too, and Team Freedom right now have got the control and they've got the pressure.
The main goal here for Nomia is not necessarily be able to go maybe winning the shots themselves, but it's to buy time. The longer they're able to stall, the more Probius is going to have the advantage there into the side soak, because it drew the brush stock from Cure. Granted, it's only about 20 seconds away from getting that back online, and Nomia would, you know, under that kind of goal, you would say they kind of failed to be able to stall out for as much as they would like to, as Robodoba only securing the remainder of these small amount of shots.
I mean, absolutely, and it's all according to plan so far. The XP is still in favor of Nomia, despite losing both of those temple faces, picking up the remaining shots in the top side there to claim the XP as well, but they've gone for the full-on plays. They've gone for a very early on camp with the Knights, looking to try and get as much pressure, still keep the members of Freedom locked up here in this top lane.
Yeah, now my focus is all about the level 7, the Master's Touch picked up there for Dansky. Already been very, very impactful. I am debatably securing those 3 kills that Freedom's been able to obtain, and now he's getting that much more lethal. You know, it's kind of cool too, because Glarong, when we got to the preview, pre-tournament interviews, we know that Glarong is an amazing Medivh player, but he kind of, you know, tipped his hat, if you will, to Dansky specifically, and his ability to be able to play the Medivh, and I think he's putting up a very solid case for that here today.
100%. I mean, he is the prophet after all. He can call the picks, he can break down the plays, and he can recognize a good Medivh when he sees one. So to be given that blessing is an indication of potentially how the series can go.
Very much the Glarong Medivh blessing, something I probably need to find for myself, because I'm still struggling, you know, which portal's the right one to go in. It's almost always I move in, I am going to go down, but possibly going to go down is Nomia here with this aggressive invade. Beautiful drag from the members of Freedom. Hook to follow it up. Dimensional Shift might be up, but I don't think it's going to matter. 2 kills now, and Freedom is just unstoppable so far here for the first 5 minutes with 5 kills to nothing.
5 kills to nothing, but still I'm looking at that XP bar, Dread, and I'm thinking Nomia are still within this one. Freedom loving the macro, loving the pressure they're exerting so far into this game, but Nomia, like much the same as game 1, buying time, looking for those ultimates to be unlocked, waiting for that second temple phase.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, now that you bring it up, there is one really good thing beyond just the experience to look at, is they aren't even experienced because of the structures, the front wall pressure that Arcana has been able to apply, and, you know, Fat94 there with the Illidan, and suddenly they find themselves in a position where they aren't even struggling that much when it comes to the shots necessarily, because Probius has been successful there with those first couple of front walls. As we see, bottom and mid both are non-existent as he's doing work up on top as best as he possibly can. But Freedom here is going to abuse that fact and the fact that they have those heroics, and they're going to take these first couple of shots.
Yeah, looking like Probius is still locked up in there for the meantime, keeping Cure distracted still, wanting to unlock those level 10s before they can collapse. And arguably speaking, top lane and bottom lane are the best temples for Nomia. How they can set up with the Shrine, with the pylons, and almost play a come-to-me team comp.
Yeah, and this is now where the ideal goals for Probius suddenly become a bit more questionable. You know, the Shrines are still predictable on the map like Sky. There's only a couple of variables in the next one. It's a 50-50, and overall, it's just less reliable, but not because he doesn't know where the Shrines are, but more so he has to go so far out of his way to make sure he gets pressure onto the structures once we see some of these forts dropping, which we can expect at Sky Temple. Some of the fastest forts fall on a map like this.
Naturally, pylon overcharges, forcing the top lane as Cure brush stalks. He's running around. He's got those Lambo wheels skirting. He's looking for Dansky, popping on down. He's trying to juke. He goes one way. The portal, the smallest portal I've ever seen. Arcane is still running, but it's not going to be enough. The Wii probe goes into the dirt.
But at what cost? Nomia not wasting any time, fully capitalizing and punishing the members in the transition towards that top half, but unable to secure the fort. Suddenly on retreat. That is going to be Vanilla falling. It looks like he's the only one as Zugrug unable to connect that hook, and a full level been obtained here. Nomia still unable to find themselves a kill. Now that the 10s are online, it makes sense for their composition, but it's at the stage where they need to be comfortable going head-to-head 5 versus 5 versus Team Freedom, or this might get a bit out of control.
Well, I mean, this is one of the worst maps to try and stall on, arguably, right? I mean, every time you can get an opportunity to push with the structural damage, you're looking to take an advantage and you're looking to press that closer to that win condition, right? So right now, with the 7 kills, yes, the structures were for a time in favor of Nomia. Looking at the roster of Team Freedom, you've got the Gorge, you've got the Divine Storm, even Isolation, a lot of tools looking to try and shut down Fat94.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes down to that aspect with the Probius, and you know, you talked about how it is unable to stall on a map like Sky Temple, a lot of that comes down to, you know, Mule is really the only tool that you have, like, that exists in the game really to change that aspect, and without that, not even an option through the draft that we see out of Nomia. So I'm just looking for, when is the moment that they decide to regroup as a 5-man? Is it this Shrine phase? Is it the 13 talent tier? Because, again, if they fail to do that in the 13 window, I do feel like Freedom's going to find that 2-level lead, and suddenly it's a 16 talent tier, and that's one you never want to not have.
I mean, fully playing catch-up all day long is never a fun time. It feels like you're doing chores back home, and I tell you what, I don't enjoy that one either, but looking in the mid lane, that's where it's all coming across. A 1-man ley line seal as they're looking to punch on right now. There goes the Archon, looking for the damage as well. Nazmaz is the focus at the start, but they found Vanilla once again. Isolation is good, the shield is even better, and Fat94 is joining the fight.
But he needs to get the cleanup. Tassadar isn't there to be able to get the shields. Vanilla, the Rhaegar, isn't there to be able to heal him up, and now the drag is enough to make Fat94 no more. Pressure up on top with that Night Camp, though, will get them a little bit damage onto it. You know, conveniently, for every negative we have to say about the aspect of Nomia throughout this game, they're getting something somewhere, and it is keeping them within grasp. But again, you always have to be able to win a team fight if you're going to win Heroes of the Storm.
100%. I mean, I'm still looking at this for Nomia saying, when do you just pull the trigger and much the same as Fnatic, just go? Hit the throttle and go full force to the wall. And right now, Roboto is thinking exactly that. Pops the Avatar. He is looking for a scrap. He gets to pull it away. Cure is saved. The boys are back in town, and Freedom are here.
That was... I like that one. No, and that was absolutely just... this is what has happened over and over again when Nomia is attempting to get those picks. They just cannot deal with Dansky's rotation. He just buys just enough time to get a portal out, and they have been unable to get any of those kills so far. But they're transitioned down. Talent here is here. Heroics not quite on the same level here for Nomia as it is for Team Freedom, as they are down 2. But it looks like they want this fight, and I'm ready to see what is this Probius actually going to do.
This has to be the one. They're looking for it. Q's going to jump it in, and the ley line seal is so massive, hitting 4 people. Isolation straight away onto Rhaegar. Illidan diving so deep. He is lost in the Australian outback, and they go for the cleanup. They find one. They're still looking for more, however. Dread on towards John. No dimensional shift. No chance. looking for further kills as that orb is bouncing around like a Happy Meal. 3 kills is the name of the game, popping the damage across. Probius looking for the escutcheon, and he does get out of harm's way.
And now Team Freedom has pretty much everything on the map is going to be theirs. They're going to start here with the boss. We still have a couple of shots there onto the bottom half of the map. And with 16 talents here, I would like to see Freedom. I expect them to try and concentrate the pressure that with that advantage to secure a fort as fast as possible.
I think that really was their chance there. The temple spawned perfectly for them. There was no threat of level 16 looming on the side of Team Freedom. They could have set up there, but they went for the fight. Unfortunately, Fat94 getting a little bit too aggressive for his own boots. Punches on, pays the price.
It is a bit of the struggle, you know, with an Illidan into these type of compositions. You always, with the Cassia and her blind potential, Uther with the hard CC, and I mean, let's not even begin to talk about Leyline Seal and the potentials and difficulties you end up facing there, especially without that metamorphosis that the analysis desk was trying to guess what direction were we going to see Nomia go. But for now, they have to deal with Freedom. Shots, pressure throughout bottom, a boss, and the 16 talents here. Again, this very much seems like this is going to be Freedom's keep.
Yep. I mean, that boss is still extremely healthy on. Illidan is still on the night camp looking for that invade, wants some split pressure in the top lane, whilst the keep is being pushed upon. Boss is now starting to take a little bit of damage, but their keep is down to half right now. They're going to try and set up as much as they can with the Probius, but being forced back all the time. They are going to jump in, but the portal's there, and much the same as an Uber, they hop right out of there.
That was a very clever portal. If that was not laid in that point in time, Freedom wouldn't have been able to stay nearly as long as we had seen them do onto the bottom keep, just because Illidan's pressure towards top, you know, you don't want to just drop the Cure there onto the Dahaka back to be able to respond to him. Everybody had a safe retreat, and Nomia, you know that's the area where they want to get that stall, and suddenly Illidan is causing havoc there on top. Again, clever play and use of those portals for Team Freedom.
Constant pressure now in the bot lane, but it shouldn't be too much of a threat for Nomia. They do always have that global factor with the Illidan to keep clean house and keep clean tabs, really, on that lower half of the map. But the split push pressure is really working in their favor right now. Double night camp in the top lane, but they're still delaying. They want 16. I'm just waiting for this one decisive team fight. That might be it. It's not a sprint. Heroes of the Storm is a marathon.
It very much is. And right now, Nomia is not too far behind. The 20 window might be out of reach just because the global structural integrity advantage that we see Team Freedom have. They not only do they have a keep down towards Nomia, but Freedom is still has a fort standing there into the middle lane. And that just means every shot in trade of those shrines is great benefit towards Team Freedom. But luckily for Nomia, there is one shrine here for the next 23 seconds. Controlling the eye is going to be a great tool that they can use, possibly allow them to get those flanks. Maybe Medivh cannot be as cheeky, you know, with having the sight advantage for the first time here into this game.
Yeah, obviously the vision is a big focal point of this temple, and right now Nomia have full control of that one. Illidan was split pushing for the meantime, but level 20 is still a fair bit away. There goes the Gorge combo straight away onto Muradin. They get the portal out. That is dirty. The Hunt is there to follow. He jumps out and much the same. There goes the Leyline Seal, but Muradin popped despite the avatar. He is just not tanky enough. You are not prepared as a sentiment, and it works against Nomia.
Now Arcane are receiving so much pressure after the portal from Freedom here. They are not done. Another hook landing onto John the Drag immediately after coming out from Cure, and 4 members down now for Nomia, and they're not done.
1, 2, 3, and 4. Let the bodies hit the floor, and potentially Team Freedom going for the core.
You know, you are a rap god. That was absolutely beautiful. And now Freedom, looks like they're going to finish this here. One Illidan is not going to be enough to stop this here. We got 10 seconds before Muradin. The shielding will be gone even before that point in time. It would be an absolute miracle.
It would be a miracle because unfortunately 2 negatives don't cancel out a positive. He's blinded twice right now on Illidan. The core is there. It is dropping. We are down to 30%. The members of Nomia respawn here, but it's not going to be enough. Nomia do drop the first game as Team Freedom fly the banner.
Team Freedom with a rather dominant performance there over Nomia. That was 15-0 when it came to the kills, and you could very much appreciate from beginning to end the intent there with the Probius and the side pressure that it was going to try and to apply. But in the end, the failure to be able to win a single team fight was the thing that set Nomia too far back here against Freedom.
Absolutely, and I think the concept was brilliant. I think it had a lot of potential.